Welcome everyone, welcome. Justin M. Bailey here, and a happy 2018 to you all. I hope all is going well. Figured I'd make a video showing you all my basement where I keep many of my old DVDs and comics and books, while also giving you a rundown of all the things, all the projects I'd like to tackle this year. This is also his lair too, so he's a little upset that I'm down here right now. But here we are. Here's my basement, here's my dungeon. I've got lots of comics. From about 92 to 2001 I would casually collect, but then for the next decade, from 2000 and, is my math off? Yeah, I don't know, about 2001 to a little after the end of Civil War, I collected very heavily. A lot of these comics are from when I went to SUNY Plattsburgh. You know, I didn't pick that place for any educational reasons. I picked it because they had a really cool martial arts dojo and a comic shop, which is something I did not have in upstate rural Oneonta. A couple of ones I'm really proud of is I have Amazing Spider-Man 300. This was the first battle with Venom. Not the first appearance, it was the previous issue, but he was only in it for like a page, so like, who cares? I'd rather have this one. Thank you very much. And I also have the first Amazing Spider-Man when he first came back with the suit. That was pretty cool. Onslaught's cool, but it's not like it's a major collector's item. It's just I really enjoyed the Onslaught story when that came out. This is probably one of the jewels of the collection, where this is, once again, it's not the first appearance of the Juggernaut, but the first battle. And I got this one. And this one right here, X-Men number 6, from that comic shop. Both of them for about 60 bucks, so that was a weekend of no drinking, but a weekend with these nice Stanley treasures in my collection. I used to love X-Men a lot. Oh, there we go. There's Gambit. And, first appearance of Bishop. Executioner song. That was one of those sagas that was really cool when I was little, but it's pretty much all but forgotten now. Okay, we got X walking for a sec. Hooray. Lots of X-Men. Lots of Spider-Man. I would say 33% of this collection is Spider-Man. Easily. I'm a huge fan of Daredevil. Daredevil's, he might be my favorite superhero of all time. And I really love the Netflix series they've been going on with him, and I can't wait for season 3 to come out. I guess season 3 is going to be based on that very famous Frank Miller run. Well, I guess, well, technically, all the good Daredevil is based on all the good Frank Miller stuff, but you know what I mean. The one where Kingpin really goes out of his way to really drive him crazy. But personally, my favorite Daredevils was the Brian Michael Bendis run. And where Daredevil's identity finally gets leaked to the papers. And I always found it so funny, when he got outed, he said to himself, I always thought it'd be Peter. Meaning he always thought it'd be Spider-Man who would end up getting ousted by the papers, but not him. Where is it now? It was, I mean, in Brian Michael Bendis, he wrote Daredevil for a good couple of years, and he kept building on this, where at first, basically, Matt Murdock beat the rap. He sued the paper who outed him and got all this millions and millions of money, which he then invested back in the Hell's Kitchen, but then finally, eventually, with the Murdoch Papers story. Do I have it right here? Where is it? Decalogue. Here we go. The Murdoch Papers were finally, I don't remember, I'm a little hazy, but all this evidence got revealed, and then eventually Matt Murdock got thrown right in jail, which was a crazy story, and maybe my personal favorite, because it was nuts. It was him, Kingpin, the Owl, Hammerhead, all these villains, and then even Punisher sees it on the news, and he snaps this junkie's neck in front of the cops so then he can go to jail too. And yeah, I would love them like seasons 4 or 5 of Daredevil. Oh, yeah, there we go. To tackle that, Daredevil in jail. I mean, he's just... I think one of the things I really love about Daredevil so much is he had to sacrifice something to get his superpowers. It wasn't handed on a silver platter like being born from some alien planet or getting bit by a radioactive spider. He lost something, which... That's how these things usually work. You can't... I mean, I'm a huge mega fan of Final Fantasy X and Full Metal Alchemist. And the big theme that they both have is you can't... Everything requires sacrifice. Something's got to go. Now this liquor cabinet right here, which has no liquor in it whatsoever. Oh God, Unicron. Where I acquired this recently. I'll just step back for a sec. From an old friend of mine, Brian Robertson. Now he's moving all the way to Washington State. And he called me up and said he wanted me to take this off his hands. Because this liquor cabinet right here, well, it used to be his parents. And it used to be filled with booze. And in our adolescence, like in middle school and early high school, we would raid the hell out of this thing. Anyways, long story short, years later, Mr. Robertson suddenly proclaimed while having some of the vodka in it, "This vodka tastes like water." What the... Because it was water! That's why! So, I am, for many simple, sentimental reasons, I'm really happy to have this down here now. And, you know, it's one of those things like the dude's rug where I think, get away, son. I think it really ties the place together. What do you think? And inside, I don't have a ridiculous amount of box games. Just a couple. Just a... you know, little gathering, so to speak. But, like, starting at the bottom, I got a couple of Sunsofts. I would like to make a video about the Batman movie and the Batman movie video game and about the Gremlins 2 movie and the Gremlins 2 video game, because Sunsoft games were phenomenal. And it was one of those things where, those two movies were freaking mind-blowing to me, because it's like, it was kind of like finally realizing, oh my God, there's more to movies than Disney. Disney sucks. Oh my God, give me this stuff. I mean, Jack Nicholson as the freaking Joker. You know, it doesn't get better than that. And we got Dragon Warrior, of course. Glad to get that one. Secret of Mana, I don't even like Secret of Mana. It's just kind of silly how this is in my possession in the first place. I thought I was once going to be doing Let's Plays 4 years ago. So I figured I'd buy this game and do a Let's Play because I never played it. And that, yeah, screw that. That was dumb. DKC, always a classic. Mega Man X is something I definitely would like to make a video. Sometime. But I don't know when. If somehow I'm ahead of... Here, this is a little shaky, I'm sorry. If somehow I was ahead of schedule this year, I would happily make one, but I'm always behind schedule. So, you know. Japanese Super Mario RPG. I picked that up this summer from a book off. Super Mario RPG, the American copy. That's Super Mario RPG is one of my favorite games of all time, definitely. Final Fantasy 3, aka 6. Get that out of the light. Got Mega Man 2 in there. I'm very glad to have that one, because that came from the old video rental store I used to go to when I was a kid. It's, they had a great deal. 3 movies for $3 for 3 nights. That was my movie education right there. And when they finally started selling off all their box Nintendo copies, I actually had this and a bunch of others, but I think I sold those for money for either booze or to go see my girlfriend, and but they're gone. But I still have Mega Man 2. Even though I do like Mega Man 3 better. Mega Man 3 is my favorite. Shuck it. Aha! Unicron! Classic. My then girlfriend, who's now my wife, at our 1-year anniversary, she gave me this for our 1-year anniversary. Not like fucking cologne or a sweater or any of that bullcrap. And I was like, that's it. Marrying this one. Oh my God. Because she gave me Unicron. How cool is that? Yay! Okay. Dogs playing poker. In my very old apartment, which I used to call the Tiny Castle, it was basically just this shoebox apartment. But Brian Robertson would always come to visit, and he'd basically... you'd basically say my place was as decorated as the Unabomber's place. Meaning nothing on the walls, no nothing, just a bed, a TV, and just a futon mattress, not even a futon, to kind of act as, you know, like a couch bed or whatever. But so then finally I saw this at a Borders. I was like, okay, just a, you know, where am I? No. Just to liven the place up a little, I got this, and I'm always glad I got this. It looks great in the basement. I think Puppy likes it. More comics over here. Really, Civil War was so good. I just immediately stopped collecting comics heavily, and then eventually, like a year or two later, altogether, because it's just... I realized it was, in Marvel Comics, it was never going to get this good again. It was, I mean, it's a superhero divorce. It was horrific, and it was awesome, and it was so amazing to watch. Read. But I guess technically you're also watching it, because you're looking at it. Anyways. And, let's see, where is it? Where's the old girl? I got Watchmen #1. I am a huge mega fan of Watchmen, and I'm really excited that they're making that new HBO series. Because way back when I first heard of the Zack Snyder film, I felt like they shouldn't do that. I literally thought it should be an HBO series, so I'm really excited to see what they do with that. Because it really is the Citizen Kane of comics. It really is the greatest comic book story of all time. Even though you could argue that just like how Jose Chung's from Outer Space makes all of X-Files look stupid, Watchmen does kind of show how, you know, the same thing with superheroes too, but nobody seems to care. Let's see. Otherwise, really quick, as you know, Deadpool is super big right now, and I am very proud to say that I have most of his, I have the entire first miniseries that they ever came out with when he first got his own comic. I've got like the first 13 of the original monthly Deadpool run. Really, really funny stuff. I think Joe Kelly wrote it. And, let's see. This is the funniest comic book I've ever read. This is one of my favorites in my collection. It's all about, for some reason, Deadpool and Blind Al accidentally gets sent back to, like, 1960s Spider-Man. You know, everything was all, groovy and far out. And it's so funny because he takes the place of Peter Parker for a bit. And it's just, if you ever get the chance to read this one, it's so laugh out loud funny. It's so freaking good. This is, I think this is the best Deadpool comic you're ever going to own. Seriously. Excellent stuff. More comics, lots of Ultimates. Okay, now up here. No, Dragon Ball Z Trunks, Mysterious Youth. I would really like to make a video about Dragon Ball Z this year. And I think this videotape, along with Mastery by Uncle Bobby Green, is like the best lens to look at it, because for me, this video represents everything I really love about DBZ, and I feel the book Mastery really represents why there's so much more to DBZ than just a fun, nerdy action soap opera. So, we got Earthbound back there. And Mother 2! Pick that up! Akihabara! Hooray! A tiny Triptychon right there. Got Rampage from Beast Wars. Scorponok back there. Good old Eddie Brock. I love me strawberry smiggles! Got Bane. Books. Books. I put all the books, like these are all the fictions, and I put them and I read in chronological order. Do I consider the Bible fictional? Yep. So, that's why it's in fictional, which is kind of strange, because maybe, I wonder if people watch my videos and see this big fat Bible right there. I wonder, do people think like, oh, he must be a Bible thumber? Because even though, like, that one book by Joel Osteen, that preacher in Texas who like refused to open up his giant stadium chapel or whatever to let all the hurricane victims in, yeah, that douche. Like, I highly recommend his book too, even though, yeah, I'm not a Christian, yo, ain't my thing, but Yeah, we got It, my favorite book ever, To Kill a Mockingbird, Fight Club, Hobbit. Hobbit is awesome. Shut up. Okay, I hope they serve beer in Hell's nonfiction. Oops. Vampire Hunter D. Yes! Starts the reading revolution for me right there, it did. Started. Stephen King, The Wastelands. I really, really hate the Dark Tower series, like, a lot, but I enjoyed The Wastelands. And I must confess, this is a copy that I stole from the correctional facility I was working at because I saw it on the library cart, and I was not going to let somebody just rip it to pieces and roll it up and use it to smoke tobacco and weed and use it for an anchor for fishing wires. So I was like, nope, sorry, guilty, stole it. Do it again. Vampire Hunter D. Dracula, classic, The Stand. Really amazing, but just what a horrible ending. You know, an ending so bad I feel it brings down the whole thing. Catcher in the Rye, Jim Butcher. I like it. Not crazy about it. Slaughterhouse 5, there's a favorite. The Fountainhead. Howard Rourke laughed. This is funny, strangely enough. I kind of think, once again, kind of like having a Bible here, because it's one of those things where usually if you like The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged, which I hate, it usually makes people think you're some kind of a neoconservative, which is like, I'm definitely not a neoliberal. And I mean, politically, I agree more with liberals, but I also do not want to hang out with them, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I don't agree with conservatives on anything, but they're more fun to have a beer with. The Road by Cormac McCarthy, that'll sober you right up. You're thinking you're having a bad day, read that one. A Wrinkle in Time. That probably makes the top 5 of my favorite books of all time. I'm so happy they're making a movie about it this year. I hope it's good. But it's like, it seems to me, this is a really impossible book to make a movie out of. So I'm really curious to see what they do. Man in the High Castle, I like Philip K. Dick. Angels and Demons, fun book, fun romp, but I'm not that crazy about Danny Brown. Cardinal of the Kremlin, fun but pretty dated. Rainbow Six. This is an awesome book. They'll never make this into a movie because all the liberal hippie environmentalists are the bad guy. You see if you get Hollywood to make that movie. But really phenomenal. That might be a fun book to talk about one day, but not this year. Down here, some vampire books. These are all just a bunch of comics and, fun books. Calvin and Hobbes. A Simpsons Guide before there was the internet. This thing was great to have. How to draw comic book heroes. I can't really draw. A bunch of, fantastic guidebooks. Now, once again, you don't need guidebooks anymore because you have the internet, but I so love to have these because these were priceless back then. Because it's just, once again, you did not have the internet. This was all you had. So, I mean, they were just phenomenal to have. So it's like, I don't really collect a lot of box games, but every now and then, I love to get my hands on these. I've got Final Fantasy 7, 8, Majora's Mask, once again, Secret of Mana, why? Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 3, Link to the Past, Earthbound, Metroid, Pokemon, 300, bunch of graphic novels. No really need to comment on any of that here, but glad to have them. All fantastic stories. A couple of DBZ books I picked up in Japan. I picked up some manga copies of the Saiyan Saga, because those are my favorites. Okay, moving on. Down here we got the non-fix, Our Dumb Century, Secrets of the Samurai, Aikido, the autobiography of Jackie Chan and Bruce Campbell, some old criminology book, Comic Book Nation. I had him as a professor. He wrote one of the best comic book histories around in first semester. I got to pick his brain and bug the heck out of him. And it was nice enough to introduce me to Catcher in the Rye and Watchmen. So thank you. Thank you, Bradford Wright. Hope all is well. The corporations are all corporation-y. It's a good book. Invisible Punishment. I had to read that. Yeah. Yep. Bunch of Civil War books. Confederates in the Year of Living Biblically. He's kind of a snooty writer, but I liked it. Bunch of books on Ronnie Reagan. I was born during the Reagan era, so I'm always fascinated about that. Korea's Place in the Sun. Pessimist's Guide to History. Book on the 80s. Heavy Metal, The Reagan Diaries, I only read about half of it. Behold a Pale Horse. What a book of BS. Malcolm X. Hello, Malcolm. Hey. I love you. I love you. Oh, yes, I do. I love you. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And he loves me too. He loves me too. Okay. I really like Pumpkin Beer. Hoping their art gets better next year. An old Lego Ice Planet set. It's missing some parts. Okay, if Hasbro keeps making super giant Transformers, I'm just going to keep buying them. So, there we go. Lot of old DVDs. Yeah, DVDs is one of those words I just really like to mispronounce, like rhinoceros or thermometer. I do. I literally have words that it's so much fun to mispronounce. And not just because I'm trying to get my Japanese wife to say them the wrong way. Okay, we got Starscream over there. Okay, a couple more Transformers, but Atlas Shrugged. What a poisonous book. Seriously. It's like, I really, really love the Fountainhead. And like, I can see the faults of Fountainhead too. But it's like, really, I would literally want to reread that book and cover it just to really get into it, because it's poisonous. I mean, it's so perfect that book helped to inspire BioShock, because it's just, oh man, it's like when you're playing BioShock, it's like you're going inside Ayn Rand's vicious little mind. And it's something to behold. Hunger Games, a really fantastic book, but I'm not that crazy about the Girly Matrix trilogy. I'm just not. The Host, I just read that just to try and see what Stephanie Meyers is all about. What is possibly weirder than taking Invasions of the Body Snatchers and making a romance out of it? I don't like her stuff at all. I think it's crap. Okay, we got Carrie, The Shining, Post Office, Ham on Rye, I love Charles Bukowski. Ready Player One. Man, it's like, you can go either way with that book, and I'm sure that the movie coming out, it's easy. I mean, like, you can give a million reasons why it's a really phenomenal book, and also why it's a really horrible one. But I will say this, it really is, I mean, there is something magical about that book. It's like he's got this, I feel, it aggravates me to read his works, but there really is some kind of a passionate spark behind it too. It's like, I don't really see, like, a spark, really something there behind a lot of the people who write books. So it's like, yes, I don't know. It's also annoying too. It's like he has all these magical powers and he uses to make a ham sandwich. It kind of pisses me off. Pillars of the Earth, that's definitely one of my top 5 favorite books. I'm actually re-listening to that one right now on audio. Once again, Ernest Cline, Stephen King's Salem's Lot, Eyes of the Dragon, Insomnia, Gunslinger, and Drawing of the Three. I read all 5 of those Stephen King's books last year. I was ambitiously thinking I'm going to read a bunch of the books about the Dark Tower before I read the Dark Tower, and then I'm going to read the entire Dark Tower series. And I really loved Salem's Lot. I really hated The Eyes of the Dragon. Man, I loved Insomnia. That book is crazy. Plus it took place in Derry, Maine, the town of it. So there's a couple of little references there. Gunslinger's always fantastic. This wonderful, it's very similar to Vampire Hunter D. It's this macabre roller coaster ride into this fantasy world of demons and monsters, and this badass that instead of having a giant sword, he's got guns. And problem is, when you get to the second book is just a piece of shit. It's such a really, I hate that book so much. That book was so bad that made me start to write. I did, because I was pissed. Stephen King is one of the best. I feel he's one of the best writers of our time, and I was promised this giant epic masterpiece from the greatest writer of our time, and it was just like, I was like, oh, fuck that. Fuck you, Dark Tower. I'll write my own books, so kiss my ass. It's like being on a bus and finally realizing the guy driving has no idea where he's going, so fuck it, I'll just walk it. Bitch. Alright, now before we move on up to here with the DVDs, the one where right below Fortress Maximus's crotch, I would like to cover Outlaw Star this year. Because I mentioned it on my Vampire Hunter D video, where that was the thing that showed me where there's so much more to anime than just DBZ. Because I've said this before, but before DBZ and Pokemon and all that, liking anime was extremely taboo. Really, it felt like one of those things where, like D&D or learning the Klingon language, where it's like, this is super nerdy. And like for me, kind of like things where it's like, I buy a lot of comics and Star Wars figures. Nerd-wise, I can barely get away with that. Man, if I start liking anime and D&D and all that too, my parents will leave me in the middle of the woods. They'll just leave me in the middle of the woods and drive away, so better steer clear of this stuff. But I love DBZ. How can you not love DBZ? But I thought, well, all that anime still must be weird or strange, or, But then after watching this, I was like, wow, I gotta just get my hands on as much of this as possible. There we go. Some Fort Max crotch right there. There we go. And finally, if you're still watching, my spell books. Very proud of all these books. I've read all of them. Tao of Jeet Kune Do. I used to be super into martial arts. And the formless form, be like the nature of water. It's kind of like one of those simplest philosophies ever. But yeah, like Cody Lindine's Party On, it's very powerful. Be like the nature of water. Attack Proof, a very good no-nonsense book about self-defense. And Taekwondo, chess, I like chess. Japanese. I've been messing with Japanese for 10 years, and I can speak enough to get by and like hang out with my mother-in-law, and we don't need to translate. We can, we can mostly communicate, but it's like, other than that, my Japanese is pretty shoddy. Science, bunch of science books, because after Fountainhead, I was just like, oh my god, I'd like this learning thing. What else is there to learn in this crazy world? There's the world. I messed with a little economics for a bit. How to win friends and influence people. I said last year I would cover how to win friends and influence people, but I just can't bring myself to, because it feels like one of those things like trying to tell a 2-year-old to like brush their teeth. Like, I really shouldn't have to. It's just, seriously, read that book, because you have to deal with people every single day. I talked about in my Cody Lundeen video how it's so important to have a good survival mentality, a good attitude. Other than attitude, the second most important skill to have is you gotta get along with people. Which might sound ironic, because on one hand I know I don't really get along with anybody. But no, if push comes to shove, when I have to, I know how to get on the same page with everybody else. This book is quintessential. Don't roll your eyes and say, oh, it sounds like some hokey self-help stuff. You need all the help you can get. I need all the help I can get. We all are in serious need of a lot of fucking help. So, go for it. 48 Laws of Power, which is in many ways the opposite of how to win friends and influence people. But it's still definitely one potentially worth your time. Because I would say like 95% of the time, shut up, son! 95% of the time, how to win friends and influence people will help you with most, issues you have with most people. I would say Book of Power is for that 5%. There's just some serious fucking assholes where you just can't, you can't peaceably deal with them. So, yeah, power all the way. Financial IQ, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I gotta reread that one. Tao of Pooh. Owning Your First Home. Landlording. I never landlorded, but, I don't know. Didn't hurt to read it. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If I could, I would love to return and start doing jiu-jitsu again. Some of the most fun I've had in my life. It's like chess, but with your body. And I like it where, how in chess, if you, some jerk who, takes too long to make a move, if you take too long to make a move in jiu-jitsu, you're just, the other guys can keep moving on you, you know what I mean? I learned so goddamn much from jiu-jitsu. It's just, man, I miss it so badly. Lower your taxes, personal finance, blah, blah, blah. One moment, sorry. 33 Strategies of War. If I was going to recommend one Uncle Bobby Green book to anybody, I would read that. That book gave me the confidence. It made me feel as if I could finally fully write my novel, The Dungeon. I read it and I decided, if I just treat writing a book like a military campaign, I can get it done. You don't just go to war, you plan, you strategize, you get your troops ready, where for 6 months I strategized and I got everything ready, and then January 2nd, 2012, I got started, and the entire plan I made fell right to shit. But that always happens in war. But it's better to have a plan than to not have a plan. It's one of those things where I think it's hard to believe when I say this, but it is one of the toughest fucking things to just get a book done. I don't know, I feel that even though the whole plan, went to shit, I scheduled a whole, basically I saved up all my time off as a CO, where I took that entire month off to do nothing but write. The plan was to get the entire book written in a month, and that didn't happen. Art of Seduction, it's not about getting in women's pants necessarily, it's about how we're all trying to seduce each other. Lots of books on writing. All the books I read to help me, after reading War, to get set and ready to write my book. Okay, sorry. All right, we are going to be finishing up momentarily in a sec. Wow, if you're still listening, good for you. There is Joel Osteen, Your Best Life Now. I mean, really, who can look at this guy and trust him? Look at that eat shit pimp grin on there. You know what I mean? But it's who cares? He's still got something useful and helpful if you listen to his work. Seriously. Darn you. Okay, so the two books I definitely want to talk about this year is Wisdom of the Psychopath by Kevin Dutton and The Highly Sensitive Person by Dr. Elaine and Aaron, because they're both wonderful books, and I really feel they go hand in hand, talking about people on the opposite sides of the spectrum, psychopaths and sensitive people, and whatever we are, we have psychopathic tendencies and we have sensitive tendencies. We're all this wonderful cocktail, and I feel that by reading both of these books and getting through them, you can get in touch with these parts of yourself and learn about it, and also learn when it's okay to be a little psychopathic, and it's very helpful to be sensitive indeed. So I'm really excited to talk about those two books later in the year. Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, great book. 98.6 Degrees, proudly already covered that one. I'm really, really proud of that video I made on it. I think that's my best single video. When All Hell Breaks Loose, also by Cody Lundeen. That's basically just it's the same thing as the first book, but elaborated upon. Spy secrets that can save your life. What Doesn't Kill Us, which I also covered last year. I love Lying Down in the Snow. It's so good for me. And that's really it. I know it's get 'em. It might seem odd just making a random video about this, but I feel that just making something is better than nothing. I always feel it's good to try something different, and I feel that as long as I keep making all the other videos I make, try and have last year be the template, like, the minimum standard of all the different stuff I want to make, but also find a bunch of, different things to add on like this, I think I'll be all the better for it. So this is all the short-term projects I want to get accomplished this year. For the long-term projects, please watch the next video. We're going to go outside in the icy cold. I'm Justin M. Bailey. Bye.